we're
Coach Huggins, our first question comes from Greg Hunter.
So, Bob, start with your offense and your offensive efficiency. At the beginning of the year, did you expect it to be as efficient as it's been to this point? Is it better, worse? Where is it right now in terms of not just shooting, but just efficiency overall?
No, I thought we'd be pretty good. And obviously, we've seen Eric play for quite a while, and Emmett coming back, and Trey. I think the question was, how quick and how well will Trey kind of be able to move and all, and he's been really good. Said he feels great. So
Joe and Keedy, have they improved from what you thought from the outside? You knew they could drive, but outside shooting better for them?
Joe's really worked at it. Joe spent a lot of time in the gym in the summer. He's really worked at it, and Keedy's much better as well.
Next question goes to John Antoni.
Hey, Hugs, what, in your opinion, did you do well last year against Walker? I was looking at his stats. That was probably the worst game he's ever played. I think he had 7 turnovers in that game and was 6 of 20. He's a really good player. Well, what were you able to do to bother him?
Put Keedy on him.
Yeah. What did Keedy do? Was it his size, his quickness? What was it that?
Well, I think Keedy can match his speed.
Okay.
I mean, he just runs away from people.
Okay.
And Keedy did a great job of staying on him, and Keedy has the same kind of speed up and down the floor as he has.
When you watch him on tape, is there somebody you can compare him to? I mean, he's not a really big guy.
Yeah, but right off the top of my head, I can't think of the names. But we've played against a lot of little guys like that that could really score.
And one other thing here, they're bigs. They bothered you a little bit last year. Both of them are back. What do you see from them?
Well, they rebounded. Basically, they defend and rebound. They're playing a lot more zone this year than what they played a year ago. So their front line is big and long, and they make it tough to score close.
And I do have one more. Best performance you think from your team last year overall, when you think about it?
Yeah, probably so. They had us down and we made a run, but again, I think a lot of that was Keedy.
Okay.
Next question goes to Kevin Kinder.
Coach, I know rebounding has been a little bit of an issue or a concern for you. How much of that is due to the fact that you're making more shots? There are fewer chances for offensive rebounds. And do you think that players maybe that aren't so attuned to, hey, I've got to go to the offensive boards every time because we don't make a whole lot of shots in past years, that plays into their attitude a little bit this year, and you got to kind of motivate them in a different way?
Well, that's a pretty dumb supposition if that's what they think. The big guys fill their stat lines with offensive and defensive rebounds and putbacks. So if they're waiting for somebody to miss, they probably are missing opportunities.
How much, I mean, the offensive rebounding was okay a little bit early on. A couple of guys have been struggling a little bit recently. Mo, hadn't been playing with quite the efficiency he has been. Increased opposition, normal newcomer struggles. Do you have an idea what's the root there?
Yeah, I think you can think too much, and I think Mo he's in that mode. He's trying to think about what he's supposed to be doing instead of just reacting and doing. And I don't know, he was just so much more active. He hasn't been near as active. I don't know if he's afraid to make a mistake or really what it is, but he's not near as active as what he once was. And then, James's situation is this, he plays against two pretty good guys every day. So I think he gets a little bit down on himself, which he shouldn't, but he gets a little bit down on himself, but he has to understand he's playing against two pretty good players every day.
Greg Carey.
But with the turnover rate being what it is just in terms of rosters and particularly yours, how much do you go back and look at last season's matchup? How much emphasis do you put on it?
I don't ever want to have to think about last year again.
Greg, you have a follow-up?
Well, what are they doing differently? What is the same? Obviously, Walker being a focal point is the same, but they've added a few new guys too. So whatever, I guess, kind of compare and contrast from them what you've seen last year to this year.
Well, they added a couple more guards. I think probably to take the pressure off the little fellas because he had a lot of pressure last year. I mean, he had to bring the ball up the floor. He had to guard the other team's point guard, and then he had to score for him. And Andy brought in a couple guys that are really good scorers in their own right and have been good scorers throughout their careers. So I think that was a move to take just some of the pressure off of the point guard.
Coach, we'll go back to Greg Hunter.
Coach, we talked about the good with the offense earlier. You've been unhappy with your defense. Does this team have the talent to be good defensively? Are they getting any better? What do you think of your defense overall?
What hadn't been very good, hasn't been very good, and it needs to be a lot better. But the athleticism that we have, there's no reason why we can't stay in front of people. We have size. We have better size than we've had in a while. So we should be able to do a better job around the rim. I think we've got a lot of guys who can score and have pretty much scored their whole career, and so their focus has been almost solely offensively when we really need them to be able to stay in front of people and guard. So
is it, you mentioned around the rim, is that the biggest deficiency defensively? Is it straight line drives? Are there specific areas that you're really dissatisfied with?
Well, sometimes it looks like we don't even have anybody out there. They've straight lined us. A lot of that's technique. A lot of that's our technique is not very good, and we've continued to work on it. And you get them in a drill, and they'll do, what they're asked to do in a drill, and then as soon as you start to play, it's a different deal. They kind of forget about they forget about what they've been asked to do.
Greg?
Yeah, I'll keep going if nobody else has anything. Andy Kennedy, did you know how good he would ultimately be? What do you think, Andy? And I think I've asked you this before. Is it tough coaching against guys that are your friends?
It's actually kind of fun. Andy, of course, played for Coach Bartow and then was Coach Bartow's assistant. And so obviously he learned a lot from Coach. Coach Bartow, one of the great coaches of all time. And I was sitting down at the Peach Jam and Andy came over and sat down beside me and said, do you need an assistant? And so, I mean, I hired him right there. And he was terrific for us. He's got a great relationship with the players. He's got a great relationship with the players. He and Logan used to go out every day before everybody else was out on the floor, and they'd go out there and shoot, and they'd both be out there for about a half an hour. Neither one of them would miss one. And so I think he's a guy that the players could kind of look at as, if I worked the way, that he worked. He started out playing for Jimmy V at NC State and then transferred down to Coach Bartow. But he's got a great relationship. Just a great relationship with not just players but people.
Great, Kerry, your hand is raised.
Yeah, Bob, you mentioned the other night, Josiah, I think you said he gets a lot done for a freshman or for anybody. What have you seen from him and what's the next step for him? Is he kind of ready to, contribute heavily in a game like tomorrow's?
Well, he's getting better and better, but he's playing really right now behind two pretty good players. Keaty's been really good at both ends of the floor, and Joe is a whole lot better than what we probably thought he was. And we thought he was pretty good. And I mean, we got 2 point guards. We're playing those 2 point guards. We really don't need a third right now. And so why waste a year? Why would we waste a year? He can redshirt and save that year, and he's going to have a heck of a career for us.
John Antoni.
Yeah, you talked about these guys on Tuesday, and you know how good they are. But you think people maybe are sleeping on him a little bit? I mean, they're 50 in the net. It could be a quadrant one win for you by the end of the year. You guys have gone up to 9. This is one of those games that could really be one you circle on your calendar at the end of the year and look at and say, "Hey, it's really helped us."
It helps us if we win.
Right.
It helps us if we win. They're good. They're they weren't a great man-to-man team a year ago, and so they're playing some 1-3-1. They're playing 1-3-1, dropping into a 2-3. They're playing some 1-2-2, 3/4 court stuff, falling back into a 2-3, and they've got great size on the baseline. When you have that kind of size and length on the baseline, you can get spread out. You can push it a little bit further out because you've got backup behind you. So I think defensively they're a whole lot better team, and I think changing defenses has been good for them. I think their pressure is a whole lot better. But I mean, we're playing some young guys, and you play young guys, and all of a sudden they're 1-2-2, maybe pressing 3/4 court, and then they're dropping back into a 1-3-1, and then all of a sudden it ends up morphing into a 1-2-2, and then the next thing you know, they're in a 2-3, which is typical Andy. He kind of likes to do that kind of thing. But I mean, you have to make adjustments. There's different areas that we need to attack, but when you're looking at, particularly the first time you see it, you're looking at, hopefully our older guys will be able to help our younger guys, because they throw the whole gambit at you now.
Well, last thing here, when you look at statistically, you look down the line, you guys and those guys, you got to go into this thinking, I got to score a lot of points to win this game. I mean, they score a lot of points. It could be one of those up and down games.
Could be. Probably rather it's not.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what we're hoping is that Keaty can do as good a job this year as he did a year ago. He's the key. He's the key for us.
Maybe a little tag team with Joe too, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, Keaty's not going to be able to do it for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hmm.
Kevin Kinder.
Coach, you mentioned Andy Kennedy in his younger days as an assistant going out making shots on the court, working with guys directly.
That's when he had hair.
What's that?
That's when he had hair.
Are you getting a little bit of that from Alex Ruoff in his NBA role this year?
Yeah, Alex has been terrific. No, Alex always been a really good basketball guy, you know, and yeah, I mean, he's going to end up being a great coach.
Huggins, I was a little worried that we wouldn't hear from this next gentleman today, but he has raised his hand. So we will go to Justin Jackson.
Justin just woke up. That's
Yeah, something like that. Hey, Coach, you kind of already answered, excuse me. You kind of answered my question already a little bit with the Keaty being the key. I'm just kind of wondering, is it as simple as just saying, hey, go out and do what you did last year? And then I'm also thinking, you know, Keaty got in some early foul trouble against Navy. If something like that were to happen again, how much of a monkey wrench does that throw into handling Walker?
Well, I think the idea is to match speed on speed. You know, Keaty is capable of playing at the same pace. So I think that makes it helpful. I mean, I'll be honest. I was standing right. I saw Keaty's first foul. I don't know what it was. I mean, I think we've, as the season wears on, they won't be making those calls.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to bitch about too many stoppages in play. But you know, I mean, they're doing what they're told to do. You know, it's not their fault. They're doing what they're told to do. But you know, to think that you're going to have 10 guys and 10 really good athletes out on the floor and they're not going to be able to touch each other is it's a little absurd. They're going to run into each other occasionally. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a foul.
Justin, do you have a follow-up?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to Greg Hunter.
So Bob, I'll throw a little different one at you. As a member of the Rules Committee, you probably hear a lot of different ideas. You probably propose some. Are there a few that aren't adopted yet that you really like you'd like to see go through and in the future be part of the rule book?
Well, I'm out of it now. I as they say, I've done my time. I passed the baton to Rick Barnes.
Oh, well, then you can speak more freely now that you're not on the committee. What are some rules that you would like to see?
I don't think that for whatever reason we've got into this like touch me not kind of deal, and you can't play like that. I mean, there's going to be some contact, you know. And now I think the judgment comes in. Is it contact that interferes with play, you know, and because they're going to have contact. I mean, ball goes up on a rim, there's going to be contact, and to think that you're going to stand out there and guard a guy and never touch him, that's I mean, that doesn't happen. Has never happened really in our game. And I understand we're trying to take the physicality out of the game. I got that. I understand that. But, you know, maybe laying your hand on a guy for 10 seconds is really not a foul. In my mind, anyway.
Was it a lot more physical back in, I mean, you know, in some of the guys that you had at Cincinnati, those guys were extremely physical. Did they allow things to go more back then? Did you guys just play it different than everybody else?
Well, we didn't let people cut. we took away really the motion out of their offense because we didn't let them cut, but they let us. You know, they let us jam cutters. And they let us play a whole heck of a lot more physical, but it wasn't just us. I mean, you know, we played Cow, I think 4 times with Jason Kidd and that whole crew, and they were really talented. And that they had two tight ends that ended up being all league tight ends in the NFL. So, you know, I mean, it was different, and you know, okay, so we're going to change the rules to make it not as physical. I'm okay with that, but it can't be if you touch a guy, it's a foul. It can't go to that degree because that's an impossibility.
Question goes to Greg Carey.
Yeah, Bob, is there any update or any news on Jose Perez?
No, not yet.
Last chance for questions for Coach Huggins. Any additional questions? Please use the raised hand feature. Coach Huggins, that's it for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Tremendous job as always, as you know, steering these guys in the right direction.
Appreciate that. I'll also remind them that the game is at 6 o'clock tomorrow, so they won't be late. It'll be on time.
Good deal. Well, Justin will just be waking up probably.
Thank you, everyone.